The RBA has just lifted rates to 3.85%, and that was on the 4th of February 2026. It's the first hike in over 2 years. So what we're going to be looking at today is will those rates, will those rate increases actually affect the inflation levels that we're currently experiencing? At the moment, they're going really aggressively up, really aggressively down.
Yeah.
And
It's like
we're yo-yoing the economy into this, and it just
like
makes no sense.
Erratic behaviour, which you would expect from
A crackhead.
Well,
in my opinion, one of the biggest issues isn't household spending, it's government spending. And get that money off the government, use that, some of the stupid shit they're spending money on at the moment, like $92 million for a fucking Bureau of Meteorology website. So basically, bit of a refresher as to why RBA increases rates to lower inflation. The simple fact is they're trying to reduce the amount of money that borrowers or people with debt have, which will then reduce the amount of spending they do.
Yeah.
But the problem that some of the problems we're going to go through today will outline why we think that increasing interest rates will not have the desired effect on inflation.
First of all, at a very high level, I think they've completely misled people because, and it wasn't just this governor, it was the RBA governor before who said they're not going to raise interest rates until whatever time frame it was.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, they had, the 10 consecutive interest rate rises. But I think it's completely disrespectful to everybody, the fact that it gave people hope that they're dropping them.
Yeah.
And they've gone and dropped them, 2 times over the past 12 months, whatever it was. Now they're increasing them again.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just hold it?
Exactly, and see what happens.
And maybe not hold it at the level, but not drop it to where it was.
And in my opinion, one of the biggest issues isn't household spending, it's government spending. And government spending is then taking resources away, which is then making our supply issues worse. And let's face it, we don't have, in a lot of these categories that we're going to go through today, it is not a demand issue, it's a supply issue.
100%.
So there's two different types of inflation. And, demand-driven inflation can be handled quite effectively with interest rates. But supply-driven, so things that, we know we need, but the reason that the price has gone up is because there's less supply of it, interest rates will not affect that.
So what the government, and it's not the government, it's the RBA in this case, but what the government has done is we've got record levels of inflation, they've increased interest rates, we've got record level consumers costs with, supermarkets,
cost
of living generally, electricity prices. So basically, everything is just increased.
Yes.
And the government's spending their heads off. So it's inflation isn't coming down at all.
So it's a tough one. Obviously, they've got to act like they're doing something, but I don't think this is the answer.
No.
In my opinion, the inflation figures were not high enough to warrant it. I think the RBA's got into this vicious cycle over the last couple of years where they're not waiting long enough before they're taking action. And we saw that when they dropped rates. They were dropping it.
Yeah.
And we saw it when they increased the rates as well. Historically, prior to COVID, you would lower or higher or raise an interest rate and then wait for 3 months for the data to be collected before you make another decision. At the moment, they're going really aggressively up, really aggressively down.
Yeah.
And
it's like
we're yo-yoing the economy into this. And it just
like
makes no sense.
Erratic behaviour, which you would expect from
a crackhead.
Well, a child, basically. It's like just reacting to something really aggressively, really quick, and not just taking a broader approach and waiting a longer time frame to respond.
So let's have a look at some of the reasons why I think or why we think these will not work. So one of them is electricity. So year on year, that was 21.5% over 12 months. And electricity,
interest rates aren't going to do anything with electricity.
Electricity, you think about all of Australia. All of Australia uses electricity.
Yeah.
Not just homeowners with a mortgage. So, punishing homeowners with a mortgage over infrastructure issues with electricity. And this was something that was privatised in the 90s, you know, while we're bagging out governments. I think that was a Liberal government.
Yeah.
They sold it like a bunch of crackheads. Let's get some money. They privatised the electricity network, and this is the result.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a consumer spending issue that's causing this. There's government policies that could be put in place to stop them gouging the shit out of consumers each year.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as that.
Yeah.
There's also government policies around renewables and the sustainable energy and all these things that are just costing an absolute shitload.
And that's the thing,
which are
they're
being passed on
trying
to
to
us.
meet these renewable targets, but you've got to spend a shitload of money to try and achieve those targets.
But then the costs
which
are
is
being
then-
passed on to consumers,
Yeah,
not the
exactly.
government.
Yeah.
You know, they want these targets. I don't particularly give a shit personally, but look, I agree. Yes, the environment. Yeah, we need to do something.
Yeah.
But at what cost? You know, at what cost
Well,
are we putting consumers through
It's
for this?
The net zero emissions that's a completely different subject and topic. But you can buy carbon credits and you can ship all of that stuff overseas and buy it back and then claim that it was, you know, the negative impact of the environment was external.
So another thing that I think is a major issue here as well is aging population.
Yeah.
So we have an aging population and we know that. And when you raise interest rates, it actually benefits the aging population.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden they're earning more money off their cash savings and off their super and off all these other things that they've got. They spend more.
And
So
and then the people with the mortgage who the interest rates are affecting are spending less.
Correct.
So then it's just wide open for the aging population who have money and no mortgage.
Correct. So they're out there spending, they're driving that holiday or the travel and recreation inflation. They're eating out, they're doing all of a sudden they've got more cash.
Which is increasing the costs of goods
Correct.
for everybody, not just them.
Yep.
Because you go to a cafe, there's a shitload of demand at the cafe. There's a shitload of demand for public transport, travel, all of the items that you want to purchase. So prices go up, that affects everybody.
So punishing mortgage holders for an aging population, again,
And just to
doesn't make
put
sense.
that into context for aging population as it relates to household debt and value of property, this is where, and we talk about debt to incomes ratios with financing properties to purchase. But if you have a look at the residential, and I haven't looked at it recently, but it's around $12 trillion, the total value of the residential market in Australia.
Yeah.
The total debt held on that is only 2.4 trillion. So you've got a debt to income ratio of fuck all.
Yeah.
Because the aging population of
Correct.
the homeowners, they've got no debt on their property.
Yeah, they bought their property in the 90s. It's paid
So
off.
people try and look at affordability metrics to try and determine how fast that market's going to grow. A lot of people don't take into consideration that potentially 70% of that market are cash buyers because they're selling their property with no debt.
So reason number 3, in my opinion. So rent inflation was a huge factor in this as well. But again, it's a supply issue. We're bringing in what was our net migration was like 500,000 last year. And we only built I think it was 170,000 houses or something.
You've got all these people who...
It was a very low amount of new homes compared to net migration levels into Australia. And then we wonder why rent goes up.
Yeah.
So new immigrants into Australia are usually a little bit restrictive in what they can get for lending. So they're not going to be buying and building and doing these things, especially when they first get here. They're going to be looking at rental properties.
Yeah.
And then that then puts a lot of pressure on the rental market. Again, punishing the mortgage holder for supply issues will not do what they think it's going to do. It's actually going to drive prices up again.
It got all these people who talk about saying that property investors are the enemy and try and manage it with getting rid of the CGT exemption and getting rid of negative gearing. Okay, they're a separate issue, but the underlying thing is we need supply. We need supply for rentals, and which means that you need property investors, and we need supply for fucking homeowners.
Yep.
That's it.
That's the reason prices are going up so much. It is not anything to do with demand, in my opinion.
And I know that
With
it happens
rent,
I know that it happens in Australia, and I don't want to throw who it is under the bus, but Donald Trump has taken action with institutional level investors investing in residential housing in America
Yeah.
because it takes away from supply for people who can actually buy it.
Yeah.
And there's institutional money in the residential market in Australia. So maybe that's an issue that needs to be discussed as well.
Yeah. So you look at, the national vacancy rate is extremely low. So it's.
I was looking at Orange recently. Orange vacancy rate's 0.5%.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with a demand issue, in my opinion, that's driving rent prices up. It's a supply issue. There's not enough houses for people to live in.
Yeah.
And people are lining up to go through these rentals. I just don't. I cannot see how increasing the mortgage expenses is going to flow on for cheaper rent. I just cannot see that. A lot of investment properties are held with debt.
Yeah.
So that then increasing that interest rate is going to then increase the holding costs. Holding costs are usually passed on to the renter.
It's potentially going to take a small portion of investors out of the market because it's slightly harder to hold, but it's going to negatively impact the rental market, like you just said, Brad.
So, in summary, yes, there's going to be certain things that are demand driven that will be greatly affected by this. So your hospitality industries, your eating out, your holidays, all of these things will be affected by it. But are they the categories that we're trying to get down?
Yeah.
Retail, they're already copping it. They're closing at a record rate. Same with hospitality.
Yeah.
Restaurants are going broke.
Yeah.
Retail's going broke. Tourism in certain areas isn't doing well.
No.
So we're getting a stick out and we're belting the shit out of homeowners again for stuff that, in my opinion, could be handled via government policies.
Yeah. Instead of dropping rates over the past 12 months, they potentially should have just dropped them once and held it instead of fucking fluctuating.
I believe
like
from
they
memory that health insurance, as an example, is capped at price increases per year because it put an enormous amount of strain on the government Medicare system because people health insurance was becoming too unaffordable because they were just absolutely gouging and gouging. So they capped annual price increases.
Yeah.
Why the hell are we not doing this with electricity?
Yeah.
And then if it is still costing them money, get that money off the government.
Yeah.
Use that, some of the stupid shit they're spending money on at the moment, like $92 million for a fucking Bureau of Meteorology website. Like, I could get a list. Let's put together a spreadsheet of shit they're spending money
in the
on.
energy market. We've got the most resource-rich country in relation to renewable energy, and we're not fucking using it.
Yeah.
How much land do we have to stick solar panels everywhere? Instead, we're probably manufacturing the solar panels in China, and then we're not utilising the land that we have and the sun that we have.
We don't and I get it's the economy is a complex thing. The reason we've got such a high net immigration level into Australia is because it's propping up the economy in a lot of ways.
Yep.
It's free money.
As is the property market,
Correct.
which is complementary.
Yep. So that's why they do that part.
Yeah.
But then at least then acknowledge that that's going to have a flow-on effect for rent or for inflation. You can't just go, we're doing all this shit, so stuff you guys.
And it's like the government and the RBA are working against each other in many ways.
They are. And then you look at our economy as a whole. A lot of this net zero stuff is going to be affected by, like, we've got our biggest moneymaker. Well, one of them is mining and resources.
Yeah.
A lot of these things they're putting in place is reducing that industry. So then we are going to be extremely reliant on immigration.
Yeah.
Which then puts further.
And again, we can stop utilising our own coal and iron ore and whatever, but and people want to not mine coal, but you need coal to make steel. So how are we building buildings and how are we building solar panels and all of these things? Wind farms for renewables is literally steel, and you need iron ore and coal to make the steel. But it's like then we can just go and buy the coal from China. We can also just mine it here in our country, but it meets our renewable targets to make sure that China's the one who are
wearing the target.
Yeah, having that negative impact to the environment.
But I think as an economy, we've really stepped away from production and creating and manufacturing like we had always done. And this is some of the results, in my opinion.
Followed America.
Yep. you know, love or hate Trump, he's trying to reverse that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're anywhere near that as a government
I don't
here.
think we are.
I think some major changes need to happen for our economy to be less reliant on immigration and to put less stress on the market.
Yeah.
And stop hammering homeowners.
On a positive note for supply, you can now buy single pre-made modular homes at Bunnings for $42,000.
I saw that, and they're flat packed. I wig out when I have to put together a fucking coffee table from IKEA. Imagine putting together a home flat pack. They literally get delivered in a flat pack.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I mean, it's one of the people, granny flats are becoming expensive, and it's like you said, in many ways, when you're buying granny flats, you're just sort of buying future interest rates because your mortgage goes towards your mortgage.
I read this morning that those small homes, those tiny homes, are near sold out. Like the demand for them is nuts.
Yeah.
People are buying them, put them in their backyard, and you've got adult kids living at home with their parents because it's too expensive to buy or rent at the moment. So, yeah, that's a good indication of how things are going. Yeah. Bunnings are now selling homes.
Crazy.
Well, that's it for today.
That's it.
As always, jump on our links if you want to have a chat about anything finance or property related, and we'll see everyone on the next one.
See you on the next one.